Hello, welcome to Tea Leaves. Today we're gaming like it's 1979. I've talked a lot about Wizardry, the Five Ordeals, and occasionally I find something new about the game, which is interesting because I would tell you I knew everything about it, but it turns out I don't. What I learned today is that if you go into the options and go over here to there, the controls, you've got this walking type control. The default for the walking type is instant. And this is how you've seen me play the game. So with instant set, when you turn, it jumps. When you move, it jumps. And experienced players would probably turn this on anyway. Because the game is much faster, and in a game with a huge dungeon, it's very convenient to be able to jump around like that. But what I've learned, and was shocked to learn, is that there's this walking type animated option, which, sounds obvious, but I'd never actually seen it before. And when you do that, you get this smooth animation. And maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe this is the default and I turned it off and just don't recall. But if I'm right that instant is the kind of default option, that's a real unforced error on the part of the Five Ordeals developers, because I think for new players, this is just so much more easy to orient yourself as to where you are in the dungeon, right? Turn left and you immediately know that you've turned left. One question that I have is, how does this react in the face of things like spinners in the dungeon? So let me go find a spinner and let's see what the animated option does. All right, so I am on the correct floor with the spinner. It's right here on the map. I know that's a little bit small. Hopefully you can see it. The map that I'm playing here, the dungeon I'm playing, is called Wizard of Prison Tower, and it is a great little user-made dungeon for Wizardry the Five Ordeals. Something that I've said a few times now, and I hope people hear it, is that the thing about Wizardry the Five Ordeals, it's hard to tell because of the dark here. I definitely got spun around, but I can't tell if I could see it better because of the animation. There's a different spinner where there's no, oh no, that is in a dark area. Oh, let's take another look. We're gonna step off and step back on. Step off. I think that is more visible than it was before. Okay, so as I was saying, the thing about the Five Ordeals that most people don't realize is that the Five Ordeals themselves, the scenarios that ship with the game, are punishingly hard. They are punishingly hard even for experienced Wizardry players. And so it's extremely likely that if you get the Five Ordeals, you're not going to be playing those scenarios, or rather, you're going to try them and you're going to give up, because I think that's the normal experience. The true joy of this game is, first, it comes with a tutorial scenario, which is very good and very long. The tutorial scenario by itself, the Price of Deception, is or could be a full price game. And if all you did with this game was play Price of Deception, that's money well spent. But there's also a superb DLC called Prisoner of the Battles. But really, the joy of this game is the user-made scenarios, and I encourage everyone to check it out. Okay, so this was what I wanted to show you. You can see movement by turning on that option. And boy, I'm going to feel really dumb if this is in fact the default and I turned it off because I was being a try-hard. Maybe I will find a different scenario with a spinner that's kind of more exposed, and let's see if that is animated as well. I'll be right back. All right, let's take a look. I've gone into a dungeon with a lone bishop wearing no armor and with no weapons. So if he meets anyone, he's totally gonna die. But all he has to do is take 2 steps forward. Let's see if we can tell that there's a spinner here. Well, I don't think that is any more... I think that is more visible. We can test it right now, can't we? All right, let's go into the camp options and let's turn off that. So now we're in instant mode. Oh my God, this is huge. This is huge for anyone who needs to make a map, which is everyone who plays Wizardry. So previously, my recommendation was that, beginners should consider having this option on. I'm changing that. I think everyone should have this option on. Absolutely. Well, quick addendum here. I reached out to the developers of Wizardry, the Five Ordeals, and suggested that this option might make sense as a default for new users, and they disagree. They gave a few reasons. First of all, they view it as a cultural issue. Japanese Wizardry players prefer everything to be very, very fast, and anything that slows the game down, they dislike. I don't actually think this is a Japanese versus Western thing. I think this is a new player versus experienced player thing. You can find plenty of Western players who would give that exact same response. Make the game as fast as possible. Don't make me wait for long magic animations or movement animations. It's so frustrating. So I respect that. I think this is a question of who you choose to make your game for. And they're very clearly, they have an idea of their customer, that it's this experienced Japanese Wizardry gamer. And who am I to tell them who their customer is? They also brought up a few other issues that I think are not related to who the customer is. In particular, there's now a Switch port of the Five Ordeals, and there are apparently some graphical glitches and slowdowns associated with this animated movement option. So if you're on Switch, you might not want to turn it on, or turn it on and take a look and make a decision about whether you can live with those glitches. They also said there's a few mismatches with the 3D assets, and if I knew any good and inexpensive 3D asset artists, to send them their way. I do wonder if the ability to see that you've rotated is the type of mismatch they're talking about, but they didn't go into details, so who knows. Anyway, I wanted to just share that with you, since they felt pretty strongly that this is not what their audience wants. Those of you who do want it, you now know from watching this video that the option exists and you can turn it on. And even though I'm a player who's been playing Wizardry for 40 years and a player who appreciates fast movement, I think I'm going to live in animated mode for a while and see how it feels. The channel is Tea Leaves Programming. We have been gaming like it's 1979. Thanks for watching.